So a large part of the Mormon temple ceremony is a reenactment or dramatization of the story of Adam and Eve. So in the current film / slideshow / reenactment are 8 characters: God, Jesus, Adam and Eve, the devil, and Peter, James, and John. In 1990, there used to be a character called the Preacher. And before that, there actually used to be 5 preachers. And as is sort of alluded to today, or until very recently, Adam and Eve used to be played by each of the temple patrons. The men and women would act as Adam and Eve. They would run around, talk to Satan, partake of the fruit, and essentially play hide and seek with God and Jesus. Like literally, they would hide behind chairs and tables. But anyway, did you know that the characters of Peter, James, and John were not originally in the temple ceremony? They actually made their first appearance on December 13th of 1845. Apostle Heber C. Kimball kept a journal specifically for what went on in the temple. And that was the first time he recorded the characters of Peter, James, and John. He says, "Last evening an arrangement was made, establishing better order in conducting the endowment." In reading his entry, it sounds like the presence of the apostles gave a little bit more structure to the entire temple ceremony. Another interesting thing is that while Heber C. Kimball continued to list the temple characters and the people who played them in his journal, he doesn't list the 3 apostles at all the following year. And the first expose of the temple, printed in the Warsaw Signal in 1846, also failed to mention the 3 apostles. And in another expose published the following year, by a man named Increase McGee Van Dusen, he also fails to mention the 3 apostles. But in 1875, a woman named Fanny Stenhouse, in her expose called Tell It All, she does reference the characters of Peter, James, and John in the temple. It seems that their presence was a gradual thing in the Mormon temple ceremony. Now, the presence of Peter, James, and John is a little confusing, because they wouldn't have had resurrected bodies during the time of Adam and Eve, and having a resurrected body was sort of essential to the part that they play in this ceremony, in that if they didn't have resurrected bodies, they wouldn't have been able to give them the secret handshakes. What were you taught concerning their presence in the temple? Was it purely symbolic, or were you told that Peter, James, and John literally showed up to Adam and Eve and gave them secret signs and tokens after they were cast out of the Garden of Eden?